Welcome to the Jesse Rucinski Show. This one's a long time coming. I've been waiting over 2 years to be able to finally actually even really say anything. I mean, I've mentioned it a few times, but I couldn't fully actually go into any details because, well, everything was still pending and still ongoing and stupid, which is actually being, very generous for everything that was going on and the situation that I was in. And honestly, I was supposed to be back in the courtroom today officially, which would have been 2 days shy of 26 months of the accident and everything that happened. So I'm grateful that I'm doing this today instead of moving on with my life and, just doing a normal episode like everything was fine just because it was still ongoing and I couldn't mention anything. And, I didn't want to complicate anything. I did mention, again, you've heard me mention the accident and stuff, but no one ever got to hear the actual like story, at least of what I know went on and the stuff I remember and, everything that was involved in it, just at least from what people have pieced together for me, because I still don't remember any of it. And anyone that's listening to this, if you know my neighborhood, Sean out there, Chuck, because you're like a freak and you can tell me what color my house is before I can, because he's got those maps and everything up because you're paranoid. That happens. Uh, but if you've been in the neighborhood there, like Crystal, anyone, Dave, like Terry, Donna, Ed, Eric, like I don't remember anything past the fountain and the ponds at the house crossing to go towards old Chicago that night because I got hit so hard. So I don't remember, anything minus what people told me. But I do remember the whole day leading up to it. And then right when I finally snapped back to, so I'm gonna fill in all the details of the whole entire day and all the idiocy that has come from it because it's just mesmerizing really when you think about it, how it all went. And how we even got to the point where we were, because we shouldn't have been there. I mean, anyone that has a lick of sense and can kind of read a little bit, is just, it's unfathomable that we got where we were with it. But let's go back to, let's finally start it off. Just again, the day before Thanksgiving 2019. So that was Wednesday, the 27th. And it was a normal day. And normal day as any for me. I mean, I woke up, had coffee, probably made a protein coffee afterwards, 2 cups. Why not? Did my workout, showered, did all the normal stuff, was ready to go nice and early. Went to run errands with Crystal. We went to old Chicago, saw Michelle, who I know isn't listening, but went and saw her, and she's always been really good to me. So I, need to mention her. Had lunch, had a beer or two. Actually, Michelle wasn't there, was she? No, she wasn't. It was Carissa, I believe. No. Yeah, I think it was Carissa. Anyway, I went there. Everyone old Chicago is always good to me. I had lunch, went over to Five Star Nutrition, saw Lou and Jared, and was and Austin. Can't forget Austin. I went and did my normal, got a sample of the new psychotic pre-workout so I could try it just to see if anything could get me, a little extra going to break the norm of my workouts, which wasn't anything out of the ordinary for me. Like I still get up and work out now. I was on such a roll with it that I just need that little extra pick me up, and I was going to see if a pre-workout would do it. Funny story about that pre-workout later, but after that, went to base to go to the commissary to get food for last minute stuff for Thanksgiving. Went to get Dylan. I walked over on the Geiger side of New River Air Station to go walk, meet Shayla's boyfriend Dylan and walk him over there, just BS and see what they did with the place in all the years since I was there, which in a little bit of time I got to go was nothing. It's just all those kids walking over to the commissary and all that because they got off for the weekend were all disrespectful little scumbags. But what else is new? Went back to the house. Any other, like normal thing, had another beer or two. Normal. Especially if you knew me back then, that was really, 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 that was actually abnormal to only have a few. There was anything out of the ordinary. I was there to watch them because Dave was up home hunting and Crystal had to go to work. Oh, she was at work. She had dinner with Melissa, but we'll get to that. I was there to make sure Dylan and Shayla didn't do anything stupid, and that they know they wouldn't. Because I'm pretty sure Dylan thinks that we'll all actually kill him. At least I know I won't. I make no promises about Mama Bear, but I won't do anything. And I had faith in them. I said I was going to go walk up to Old Chicago quick, some potluck type thing or something. There, just go and say hi and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I went on the walk. My last thought was, Jesus H, it's way too humid for any human being to be out here walking. But screw it. It was North Carolina. It's always like that. I didn't think anything of it. And that's the last thing I remember was those ponds and that thought in the neighborhood. And anyone that knows, it's like a solid another 20 plus minute walk to get from there to where I got hit. That's completely gone. And the hours afterwards, when I got hit, crossing Western by that full size Silverado on foot, only 55, 65, whatever. And that sound probably gone 65 just because I've been on the road enough times now. How fast people go to make it through that light there and everything. Just that stretch, everyone's going as fast as humanly possible. I still don't know why. There's accidents there all the time, and people get pulled over there all the time, but they still do it. And Amy got out of her car after I got hit. She said she stopped for a second, thought I was dead until I lifted my head up like a zombie. And she went and pulled my head out of the road because no one was slowing down. I was still laying it. No one cared. Her husband, Sean, went and stopped traffic until everyone got there. This is, again, just what I heard. And I was doing good. I aged myself a year, but I still had everything. And Crystal and Melissa, again, Crystal's at work. Melissa was there having dinner, worked right down the road. Like they could see the ambulance and all this stuff, thinking that there was just a bad accident, not knowing it was me. But apparently I was really good until the EMTs grabbed my hips and shook them, said there was nothing wrong. Then apparently I tried to start fighting people. This is even after I rolled over all on my own with my pelvis in 3 pieces. I don't remember any of it. Apparently, though, me trying to fight them when they said there's nothing wrong with me, apparently that made them think that I was on drugs, and the pre-workout packet exploded in my pocket, and psychotic pre-workout has MDAA in it, which is why I triggered the field test to say that it was meth. If you think about it, pre-workouts, that chemical composition like that, like Ritalin with speed, like there's a lot of things that are chemically composed as some, same as that, but they don't have the narcotic effect. But that's a whole other story. And I don't feel like playing, chemist today. Not my thing. The only reason I couldn't be a combat engineer is one thing in the Marine Corps I couldn't do. Why? Because I didn't take chemistry. Ain't my cup of tea. In fact, doing anything wasn't my cup of tea, but I don't remember any of it. First thing I remember was hours later, strapped down to a board, and finally, like the lights were on the whole time. I wasn't home, but the lights were on. I was answering questions. I was lucid the whole time while they did everything. And they finally turned back on. I gave the always popular "what the," As I looked up in their helicopter blades over, and they said, "You were in an accident, sir." And then I remember them, twisting the thing into the IV and knocking me out for the flight. That was like the first thing I remembered. So I went from fountain over at the ponds at the beginning of my neighborhood to that. And I want to say there's, a solid couple hours in between the two, which was just mesmerizing, and all, like just the confusion. I was still completely happy, and I got a lot of thanks for, being as good as I was about it, because, that wasn't their fault. But that was the first thing I remember. And then I came to back in Greenville, and I had the neck, thing on, neck collar, the hard collar, which by the way sucks. If you have a big head digging into everything, especially when you can't move and you have no idea what's going on, you can just look up and see the ceiling. If you've ever been in one, you know how much it sucks when you're laying flat on your back. People asking you questions that you can't, see or move to even see if you wanted to, which wasn't, the funnest thing on the planet. And I didn't recognize any, like, first good moment at the hospital was just suddenly I heard this familiar voice of Crystal, who apparently left work and flew to Greenville for the amount of time it took her to get there. But, like, or if you wanted to get a new knee, you could have gone down a different route or something of the sort. She called me an asshole. All completely understandable and probably deserving at the time. And then, we had the whole catheter thing where they said they're going to insert a catheter a little bit, inject some stuff, see if I broke my penis. And I was like Johnny Knoxville. And one of them actually got what I was saying. The other one just looked at me confused. They said it was fine, but then nothing was broken. Then they still brought me back in. I went and put one in there anyway. And this was way early Thanksgiving morning. And then later on in the day after I had surgery, was supposed to have surgery first thing, and then at 12:30, then at 4:30, and then they take me back until downstairs to do it until like 8:30 at night. And that amount of time I talked to my older sister, Meg. And by this time, Brooke was already down here. And it was good to see her, but everything turned real funny real fast when I got to me and your sister talking, decide you're coming to Pennsylvania to recover. Like, well, I have a house and animals and stuff. So yeah, how about we don't try to run my life? But that was a whole nother story. I still brought her, and she came down to check, like she was there through and through. Crystal, I mean, she was there. It was just that controlling thing. That's the part that really killed me. By the way, people, it doesn't help in those situations. You're on a break with someone. Yeah. I'm even talking really because they're trying to control everything. Do not come down there and tell us when, hey, you just almost died. So we're going to make you travel 600 miles plus from your home and make someone else deal with your animals for months while you recover. Like, that is the dumbest way you could ever possibly go about that. Like, if you're trying to get, especially if you're trying to get back to someone's good graces, like, don't go and try to control their whole entire life through recovery and say, oh, well, everyone else can deal with it. You're coming to PA. It's like, one, I'm supposed to like travel like Jacksonville without getting out and stretching every 20 minutes, which isn't going to happen. How the hell do you expect me to get up the highway all the way to PA, to houses with stairs where people work without the animals? Like, don't be that person. Like, that really, really does make you come across as like the biggest scumbag you ever could. And no offense to her, but control was just a big thing, and you shouldn't control people. But again, past that, I did talk to my sister, an older one, on Thanksgiving, amongst other people, but she told me that they already had a bench warrant out for me for meth, without running anything to the lab, doing anything. Managed like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving of all days. They managed to somehow get a bench warrant, for me. So to arrest warrant, all that, but their exact words, they even admitted, like, at the time, it was a bench warrant. And here we go. Bench warrant allows a police officer to take someone into custody to answer criminal charges. However, in the case of a bench warrant, the criminal charges are a violation of the rules of court. In fact, a bench warrant doesn't have to arise from a criminal case. Bench warrants can be issued in any kind of court case. When a judge issues a bench warrant against you, law enforcement is authorized to take you into custody. In other words, even though a bench warrant doesn't have to arise in a criminal case, it can give rise to a criminal charge. The most common violations that lead to bench warrants include failure to show up for a court date. Failure to show up for any scheduled court appearance can lead to a bench warrant. A judge can issue one for failing to appear for a traffic ticket or for any court hearing, including an arraignment, pretrial conference, trial, or sentencing. Failure to obey a court order. Court orders come in all shapes and sizes, from neglecting to pay a fine in traffic court to ignoring a restraining order to failing to pay court-ordered child support. Ultimately, a judge issues a bench warrant to get you to appear in court. Once you're there, the judge can either release you on your own recognizance with a warning or take you into custody. The decision depends on your criminal history and the court's assessment of your flight risk. If you don't appear in court, the consequences can be serious. Contempt of court charges carry hefty penalties. In some cases, you can lose your driver's license. In other words, you could be held in custody pending a new court date. Although bail is often available, the bail amount may be significant. Like, yeah, and in good news, in most cases, you'll receive a copy of bench warrant notification in the mail, which I didn't. You know, I mean, I get it, but literally putting out bench warrant and yeah, it's just a type of arrest warrant. Literally 4 hours after I got hit, getting someone to sign it at 3, 4 o'clock on Thanksgiving morning, which means no one was there. I'd like to know how they got anyone to sign off on that. Complainant was J.R. Rohrer, JPD, and witness was M. Madden, JPD. Issued literally on Thanksgiving, way too early in the morning. The date of the offense shown, let's see, to any officer with authority and jurisdiction to execute a warrant for arrest for the offenses charged below. I, the undersigned, find that there is probable cause to believe that on or about the date of offense shown and in the county named above, the defendant named above unlawfully, willfully, and feloniously did possess methamphetamine, a controlled substance which is included in Schedule 2 of the North Carolina Substance Abuse Act. Signed, that's part, C.T. Riggs, magistrate, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving. No looking into anything, no sending it off to actually get tested, no going to 5-star and confirming what, I told everyone at the hospital and all that. No, why would they do that? Why would anyone do that? Why would they actually do the due diligence and do their actual job instead of just completely fisting someone and getting someone to sign off on something at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on a federal holiday? I'll still never understand that one. Because, that's just amazing. With literally nothing, they got a bench warrant signed of all things, which, again, failure to appear, most of the stuff and again, who am I to hate on them? But that was the way it all started. And then, I was at the hospital for forever waiting on someone to even come and say a word to me, do anything. Like, no one said a word to me. No one went to 5-star to confirm, to see the tape or anything for over a month and get samples. No one looked at my labs. No one did anything. They just went straight to a warrant, probably because they guessed, I don't know, I was laid out in the middle of the road and I was dead. And then it turns out they said there was another guy. There's people that, since we've talked to the police once, because they don't return calls or anything, and then COVID. But there's someone that looked like me that had problems before, so they just assumed that I was him, and immediately threw a warrant out instead of actually looking into anything. And this came directly from the sheriff's department's mouth, that I looked like someone else, so they immediately just went to that, and that's how all of this idiocy started. That's why there's supposed to be a system and how you actually do things and guidelines and all of that, so you don't put innocent people into garbage situations because you jump the gun and don't actually do your job. I don't ask for much for people, but when you're in that situation, do your job. This is why, one of the reasons why people have zero faith in the system or anyone, because there's idiots that do stuff like this all the time. And then after I finally got out of the hospital, though, I was moving on before I get angry. And I was in there forever because the VA is a bunch of idiots. We all know that. Like, they literally talked to the caseworker for me at the hospital twice a day, but didn't think to, call my room, and they couldn't get a hold of me on my cell phone because the cops had it. To call the hospital to get a hold of me is figure out where to send the wheelchair so I could actually get out, which is just mesmerizing that they didn't have that thought. Neither did the caseworker. It's mesmerizing. And after I got home, which was a fun trip, but I got home, things were good. I went and saw everybody, apologized to everyone. Everyone told me to shut up, get better, all of that. And I didn't hear anything of it until January, one night. I believe it was January, right after I got home, at least. Whereas a ring at the doorbell 11:30 at night. Yeah. And there's 5 of them outside. When I rolled to the door, and they looked like they were going to fall over dead because they expected some big meth kingpin. And instead it was some guy that still had scars and bloody holes all over the place in a wheelchair. And then another funny thing I learned, when they did try to take me in for said warrant, and they did try to get out of it. I was in a wheelchair and I couldn't move. No one cared, but they went and they got the crutches and they stood on each side of me, even though I wasn't supposed to be putting any pressure on any of my legs really for more than a few seconds, because I still couldn't put any pressure on my left leg at that point, which is awesome. But they went and got the crutches because I couldn't take a wheelchair into jail if they brought me in. Like, that's the most mesmerizing part. Like, you couldn't bring a wheelchair in that you have to sit in to get around, but you can bring in crutches, which are actually a blunt object, which I still can't even understand how that even makes any sense to anyone's deranged mind. But wheelchair, you're stuck in a move, hard to swing and do all that. Crutches you can bring in, for safety things, I said too, like into their jail. Like, I'll never fully understand that one. But they brought me back home because there was a problem there, and he said I told the truth. So and yeah, he didn't feel like taking me home. I mean, locking me up over it. And then by next business day, he called, left a card at the door and told us to call him back and said that he got to the DA and got the warrant dropped because he went and talked to 5 Star, saw the tape, went and got samples to send off because they still hadn't done anything yet at that point. This was over a month later. He talked to the magistrate because my talk screen was clear. There's nothing in there. My criminal record was clear, just like everything I said. Funny story. Years later, yeah. Turns out, as of July 2nd, when they got Hannah for speeding, which she never even got anything for, she got a warning. I was in the back of the cop car because they ended up taking me in because the warrant never did get squashed. And it was fun talking to the sheriff's deputy. And he went, well, she took off up there. I'm like, bro, she was going 55. He's like, I know. Like, the speed limit's a 55 right there until you get to the, convenience center for the trash. I'm like, oh, is it? So, they got me for that. I had to bail myself out. And I was, technically falsely arrested, imprisoned, and all kinds of things for all of that, for something I didn't do. Which is still just funny when I think about, to bail myself out for something I didn't do because no one did their due diligence at all. I still don't have my property back. There's still a lot of things I don't have that. I had 2 court dates since then, had my first appearance, went back again after that, got a continuance because they didn't have any lab results back yet. Then I asked them, that one was supposed to go until today for 6 months. And turns out, well, they got the lab results and they finally did it. And I wish I could say the boulder's off my back, and there's all this like release of all this stress and tension and all kinds of things, but there isn't. I don't know. I don't know what's going to get it to me, but I just have a problem with all the resources wasted and all the people that rushed and did everything out of protocol, which every police officer I talked to, whether it was, that day they arrested me, that night when they came to try to get me for, in January, right after I got home from the hospital, like so much idiocy had to go into people not doing their due diligence and just assuming that, I was the guy that they got before, not actually like doing anything, just immediately getting done clearing me out of the road and getting a warrant signed immediately. Like, no samples, no actually tests, sending that off to a lab, which they're supposed to do to see if it was what they thought it was. And if my story was, like holding up and true, granted, it wasn't coming out of my mouth. No one talked to me, but there are people in between. They could talk to the headphones. And like there's just so much bad actors going on. And that's my big problem with it. Like, a giant waste of everyone's time, resources, court dates, like the lab. It took them forever to do it, which would have taken like 30 seconds if they just put it in and got it done, because it happened before COVID. Again, happened in like right before COVID, but I mean, it takes what, 5 seconds to mix a pre-workout? Like, it doesn't take that long to actually put it into a machine and get it over with. And things like this should not drag out for over 2 years, with someone getting arrested for something they do, bailing themselves out, for a 5-minute test that should have happened, which everyone has agreed to, include lawyers I've talked to, before they went and put the arrest warrant out anyway, let alone, a bench warrant in the first place, which that one, how the hell did they get that signed off on? Like this is coming from police officers and lawyers and stuff. And like you weren't even like anything yet. Like they should have sent it off before they did anything. And that's probably what I have the biggest problem with. Do I want to talk to the DA just to say what the and see what could happen? Like, yes, because it happened to me. I know it's happening to all kinds of people all over the place, just from people not doing due diligence. And I'm telling you, they probably just rushed through it thinking I was that guy. No, he's dead. He just got hit by a truck. You know, it probably all, I mean, I hate to say that that's how I feel, but that's how I feel about it. They thought it was that other guy. Then screw it. What? He's giving us problems for months and months, like they said. I just happened to look like the guy. It wasn't him. Then screw it. Get him. Thinking I was just gonna be dead, so they weren't gonna have to deal with it, and it would just die right there, and that would go quietly into the night when the lab result came back, and that there wouldn't be a human being on the other side that has literally been like with all the issues I have, health and everything. Like I didn't need them trying to say I was a meth addict. Like I've never seen a meth addict put on. Wait, like this, the tooth, yeah, that got knocked out when I hit Western with my face. Like, and I'd really like, regardless of anything, I'm gonna get money. If I can get money out of it, that's great. I don't really care. I just want to know how the hell something this like ridiculous has ever happened. Could happen. Like it's not supposed to happen. When I have that many people, whether they're in federal levels, local levels, sheriffs, police departments, there's lawyers, there's people that work federal police stuff, like all this stuff across the board. And magistrates I've talked to, because I've seen one or two since then during this whole process. They said that's not supposed to happen. I want to know how the hell it happened and how it took this long for them to actually rectify anything and vindicate me of everything, like all the nonsense, and be like, yeah, well, you were telling the truth. Like, I don't think that's asking too much just to sit down and talk to the guy. Will I ever get to? Who knows? But I think it's a very fair request to look them straight in the eye and say, what the happened here? And how the do we stop it from ever happening again? Because it shouldn't. Like, if you really think it's something in a field test, which everyone knows are unreliable, just like they say about the rapid tests for COVID, not as reliable as the PCRs. Wait till those come in. It's the same thing. And I shouldn't have like this stack of just warrants and all kinds of other stuff because people just rushed to judge everything because they thought I was someone else and they'd get it over quick and I'd be gone. Like that's just bad. It's dumb. And for all the people that were there, while I was losing my mind, I mean, I appreciate you, Monica, for your nice words on the voicemail and all the text, but the voicemail is still on my phone. I'll never delete that. Kaylee, Michelle, Sammy, even ex-wife. I mean, she's probably there the least out of all these people I mentioned. But still at least had a few good words that first week after I got hit. I mean, we've pretty much been right back to not talking at all, but I didn't expect anything better from it. But she was there. My sister, Brooke, when she was there. Crystal, Dave, and Shayla for coming up there and making sure I was fed and watered, until my stubborn ass was up and making my own food, which I'm pretty sure was in like a week and a half. Week, I finally figured everything out and was, deal with it. I can cook now. But they came. I made sure I was fed. Made sure I didn't die trying to get in and out of the bathtub. They've washed my hair the one time. So can't forget that. Walked up here just to wheel me down to their house just so I could be a little bit of a, regular human being right away that didn't disclude me from anything. Sean was good to me. Amanda, know you're listening. You were good to me. Alex, the few times we did get to see each other, he still came down. He was busy with work and life and motorcycle clubs and everything, but he's still there. Drew, you hear me talk nothing, good of really, because it's a political show. We talk about politics, and I still think he's completely backwards. And that him calling us all conspiracy theorists when everything keeps coming true is wrong. But you know what? Through all the differences we had politically, and we didn't really even hit on politics before that. But, while I was going through all of my garbage when I was a miserable prick at the townhouse, there was Drew. He was still there. When his sister left, she still blamed me for it, which I still want to get to the bottom of that. But like, he was there. He'd call me and check in on me like a lot. Then everything, then everything got all weird starting like around the time very soon after I got hit. But he was still there for while I was in that wheelchair, and I finally got my phone back. He was there. When I say got my phone back, I mean I went and bought one because heaven forbid I could still have my property back yet. But that's again another story. But Drew was there. He was really, really there. And no matter how bad things are, I'm still eternally grateful for him being one of the people that still checked in on me, because most 99% of my family members didn't even care. I got like a text or two, and then they dried up and stopped responding. It is what it is. Just saying, it's like they were still there. My aunts were there. Nick and Marissa, hey, putting you both together, I know, but you were both there and good to me through Snapchat and text and all kinds of stuff. Like there were a lot of good people that were there for me. Mike was there a few times, and he doesn't talk to me. Like there were so many of you, mom and dad, granny, that did good by me. And I really, really do appreciate that. Like I really do. Like eyes are trying to well up now. Like you guys did not have to be there. When I told you what happened, you had my back and you believed me. And you were right there by my side and would have been there if this went all the way to the end. And they tried to get me to like court and do something about a pre-workout packet. Like there's so many of you that would have been there. If I needed you at the drop of a hat, because you know how good of a person I am and you've been there with me through everything. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for all of them. Every single one of you, the people that listen to this, Hannah, Donna, Ed, Eric, Terry, and Ernie. Like there's so many people out there. And this isn't over for me. Not yet, not by a long shot. It's not over. I'm gonna like keep trying to talk to the DA and everybody just to see how the hell this even like happened. But I know that I'll have all those people and more. If I forgot anyone, I tried to go through all the names. I'm not good at remembering things, but everyone was there, and doesn't go without. I noticed all of it, and I appreciate it more than anyone knows. But I can say that after over 2 years, I can officially say that everything that I said was true about me has been proven to be true. And I'm finally vindicated of all the nonsense and the BS and the idiocy that they tried to throw on me. So I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget who was actually there for you, regardless of your status with them now. Never forget the people that were good to you. So with that said, I'm going to jump off. Don't forget to share. Sorry if it just glitched and twitched out on you. Share it out to everyone. I think this is a good one. It has nothing to do with politics, and no one should be offended by this, but share it out. And I greatly appreciate it. Again, comment, let me know what you think. Follow along if you're not following this the first time, but please share it out. I appreciate you. Be good to each other. I'm going to plug this thing in because I forgot the charger wasn't plugged in. That was it telling me you're about to die. And I really do love you. I'll be back on Friday with an all new one, all kinds of stuff to talk about from Joe, but we'll get to that Friday. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Share it out. Be good to each other. And until Friday, check out the episodes that I shared from past throwbacks. Share this out. And until Friday, my friends, peace.